So tired of constraints of traditional math education because you feel that you must teach all of the things in your homeschool math, or your kids might have to be unprepared for college? Did you know that there is a better way to teach your child math, one that doesn't rely on traditional math curriculum? Hi, I'm 𝐻𝐻𝐿, founder of Math Art, an online math program that teaches kids math through a math history framework. Math Art teaches math using real world connections through projects and experiences. But today I want to share with you about how to strew math resources for your homeschool family today. So I will tell you more about Math Art at the end. So what is strewing? Strewing is secretly laying out resources for your child based on their interests that they casually or passionately bring up. So the act of strewing or laying out learning resources usually happens when the child is asleep or in bed or out of the house, so that you can lay out the interesting resources for them to find on their own without any coaxing from the adults. So you lay them out, and then all of the adults ignore the resources, allowing the child to discover and explore them. That is, explore them if there is genuine interest in them. So for example, if your child expresses interest in learning about spaceships, sorry, doing a little techie wahoo stuff here. So, if they express interest about spaceships the next day or in upcoming days, you could lay out library books about space and spaceships, perhaps a comic book about them with maybe a Lego kit to build a spaceship, and that's the math part. So if they want to dive in deeper, you could transform a room into a space station, lay out an art project for them to create a spaceship using art materials. So do you have to spend money to strew? No, yes and no, but yes, if they have an established interest in a topic, and at first strewing typically entails laying out things you already have on hand or can easily acquire for free until your child shows greater and greater interest and would like to explore for a longer time and go deeper. So I know Jessica from the Waldock Way, she turned one of her rooms in her house into a veterinarian clinic, a vet in her home for her one child. And there's loads of math that's used running a vet, right? Think about it. Bills and billing people. So strewing is a way for homeschool and unschool parents to facilitate their child's interests without pushing or forcing unwanted math curriculum. So in this case, you wouldn't want to push any curriculum on the child. Of course, you can view other topics, not necessarily math related, but I'm using math since it tends to be locked away in traditional math curriculum, found usually only in textbooks, workbooks, or traditional math online learning programs. So strewing can become like a treasure hunt for the child. You can have a very special place or a number of places where you lay out or strew the math learning resources. Now, if you want to try out laying resources specifically related to math, they can include math instruments such as scientific calculators, compasses, protractors, rulers with really cool pens or coloring utensils, some really cool paper for them to create, math art drawings on. So if you have, say, an old spirograph, remember those from the 70s? Those are really great. And that's math, it's geometry. So you can usually pick those up at a garage sale or a thrift store. You can lay out puzzles like Rubik's cubes, like the Rubik's Cube family, such as pyramids, the missing link. I know as a little girl, I used to collect all those. I remember I had a little tiny Rubik's Cube and it was on a keychain. They still have those. I won one in a gumball machine once, and it was like the greatest thing on the planet. And I used to play with that thing for hours. And I would play with the whole Rubik's Cube family. Maybe your kids would be into that too. Teachers Pay Teachers has some really great free games that you can download, print out, and cut up. And then if you find your child's favorite, laminate those. You can hang on to those for years to come. Also, math, science, and art go hand in hand. Since math is the language of science, and all of art can be expressed mathematically, from geometric shapes to fractals, which are self-similar repeating patterns such as veins found in leaves, branches on a tree, or the neuron pathways of the human brain. So if your child expresses interest in science or art, you can add complementary related math resources, like say those free downloads from Teachers Pay Teachers. You can keep a private logbook of what your children bring up as interests, especially math, science, and art, since they're really closely related to each other. So you don't have to forget their interests if you have that logbook. In fact, I might make a Strewing logbook. One by one, assemble resources such as books, games, toys, puzzles, art materials, with maybe one little 3x5 prompt card, and see what happens. So where you can, it's better to leave out prompts and just allow your child to explore the resources the way they wish. So you know what the most important part of math strewing is: not to take it personally if your child simply isn't interested and doesn't interact with the materials, or interacts for say like 2 minutes and then ignores them. You know, they start collecting dust, right? So it's probably a good sign that they're not interested, and that's okay. You know, it can be an experiment to see what your child loves and is interested in. We'll spend an hour or more. So it may take several math strews before you hit the nail on the head of your child's interest and they engage with the resources. By the way, if you're watching this video and you haven't yet joined our Math Learning Secrets Challenge Facebook group, click the link with this post here on Facebook or in the description on YouTube. So in the Math Learning Secrets Challenge Facebook group, I cover a myriad of ways that you can make your homeschool math more fun through real life learning experiences and projects. And periodically, I run a live challenge called the Math Learning Secrets Challenge. So you'll want to be in that group, so you'll be the first to hear when I have those live challenges. So here's a little story time about me strewing math. So back in 2010, I ran a nature-based math and science program for multi-aged homeschool kids. So I mainly strewed each day of the program. It was actually a child self-directed program. So I wasn't a teacher. I was called a facilitator or mentor. So at the beginning, or on the weekends when it wasn't a program day, I would lay out different materials for the kids to explore during the 3 days of the weekly program. So mainly I strewed each day of the program, but it was also, like I said, 3 days per week. And there were so many strews and children that they almost always found something of interest. So I would keep the same displays up for a day or two, sometimes up for the whole week of the program, and then change them out to keep them curious and interested. So here are some of the things I strewed that were either solely math related, science and math, or math and art related. So math storybooks, board games, puzzles, microscopes, mandala coloring pages with choices of media, including paint, colored pencils, and crayons. So I would change up the displays often to keep their interest and curiosity going. So keep listening for your kiddos' interests in conversations and while doing other homeschool work. Try laying out different math, science, and art displays until they engage with them for a good length of time. If you casually observe your kiddos out of the corner of your eyes interacting with the resources, learn from it. What else might go well with their exploration? Notice how they're exploring it. Notice how they're interacting with the materials, and get inspiration for how you can improve it or make it better. Maybe add one more thing to it overnight for them to discover the next day. So you can always start slowly with one strew per child per week, or up to 3 or 4 times per week, whatever works best really for your homeschool family. So if they get excited, strew as much as you have time and energy for. At first, you'll want to keep it simple with like a book and maybe one resource that goes along with the book, maybe a toy, a puzzle to go with it. For example, a living math storybook with a Rubik's Cube, or a science experiments book with one of the experiment supplies and a short prompt card with the page number of the experiment on it. And experiments usually entail some type of mathematics. That's why I'm using this in my math strewing example. So try different spots or containers, different spots in your home, maybe a drawer. You could use baskets, drawers, coffee tables, a special room, your child's nightstand. And if you have younger kids and you don't want them getting into the stuff, try to put the strew in a higher location where they can't reach, or a locking container only your kids can unlock. Make it appealing so it's like looking for treasure for your kid. Ignore it yourself, of course, unless they invite you to join in with their exploration. And of course, you want to allow them to discover it on their own in their own time. Are you tired of the traditional math learning scene and are ready for a non-traditional math learning program that excites your kids and inspires them to self-direct their math learning? That's why I created the year-long and beyond Math Art online unit study. It's a math history framework that weaves in other subjects, including math, history, art, literature, music, and more. So click the link with this video to learn more about math art. And of course, I invite you to join our Math Learning Secrets Challenge Facebook group so you have a community of like-minded homeschool parents to help you deschool math with ongoing support. So what do you think of strewing math? Share in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts or answer your questions.